Hello, and welcome to the Table and Well podcast. I'm Tennyson.
And I'm Janelle. Thank you for joining us as we discuss topics and give practical tools that help you live, grow, and be in healthy, joy-filled relationship with God, yourself, and others.
For more information and resources, or if you're looking for coaching, connection, and community, please visit tableandwellco.com. We hope you enjoy this podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Table and Well podcast. This is season 3, episode number 1, and we're back. Yes, we are so excited to be back with you. And you know, life invited us to take a pause from recording the podcast, and it became a little longer than it was intended. However, during that time, there was just so much revealed to us and a lot of revelation, and we actually are really excited and can't wait to share it with you.
Yes.
So we are excited to be back and doing this again with you guys. And so what we've really talked about while we were away is we just want to reintroduce Table and Well and reintroduce Tennyson and Janelle to you guys, so you know who we are, what we do, why we do it, what Table and Well is all about. And that's really what these first few episodes in season 3 are going to be all about, is exactly that.
Yeah, because we really started Table and Well way back in 2020 after whiteboarding for a year, and not really knowing what it would turn into. We just took one step at a time, and the podcast actually started from this recording of Facebook Lives that we did to just get the word out about what we were discovering.
Yeah.
And we often, still to this day, send people all the way back to season 1, episode 1, because the conversation was so good. And what we wanted to do is bring an updated version of that conversation into the current. Yeah. And then just go from there, because so much has unfolded over the last 4 years, almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nothing. So we want to kind of start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Start from the beginning of how did this start?
Right. How did Table and Well start? What got us here? Why are we still on the journey? Yeah, all that's so good. So really, we came to discover a lot of this content through our own healing journey. And way back in 2017, I was honestly suffering from a life of grief and loss, and all of it kind of came unfolding for me at that time. And we had been in ministry pretty much all of our lives. We had done a lot to serve the community and care for other people. But what we didn't have was the skills to be healthy like we needed to be. We understood some things, and we were doing our best to model those, but we just didn't have any framework really to understand what it would take to become the people that we really longed to be and longed to have in our life. And so we became introduced to a lot of this content through a counselor that I met at that time, who since then we've become dear friends, and we're just so grateful for just her being her in our lives. And what she introduced us to then was the life model.
Yeah. We didn't know that.
We didn't know it. No, we had no idea. But she was just doing things and talking about things that we're like, where's this been all of our lives? We've been believers all of our lives. We've been in ministry all of our lives. And no one's saying what you're saying. And then lo and behold, not only are these concepts something that feels like revelation, it's changing us.
Yeah.
And it's healing our relationship. It's healing our hearts individually. It's connecting us with the Lord in a way that we've never been connected before. And so it just kind of revolutionized everything about our whole lives. And it was like the world shifted from black and white.
That's good,
to color.
Yes.
For the first time. And as we went on our healing journey, notice we've talked about this all happening in 2017, and really we just worked on us and worked on healing and growing. And the more that was happening for us, the more we were like, okay, we have to give this away.
Absolutely.
We have one woman who's a counselor that no one knows much about, and everyone in the whole world needs this. Like, why don't people know this? Why don't we know? And so we began to really dream with the Lord around what would it look like to bring this to more people.
Yeah.
And part of the gift of what we carry as a couple is this ability to take big concepts, maybe hard to understand concepts, and break them down into the practical.
Yeah.
And we also do that with scripture. We're big about, okay, that scripture is nice, but how do you actually do that?
Yeah, how do you live that out? How do you actually
live
walk
that out in your real life? And so what we did is we began to just really mine out with the Lord these different ideas that were being highlighted to us and started piecing them together and kind of unfolding our practical thoughts around how people can live this out. And we were practicing for ourselves how to live it out, and then seeing the fruit in our lives, and then wanting to invite others along. And so in 2019 was the big whiteboarding year of all the ideas. And by 2020, we said, okay, let's do something.
Yep.
And that's where the Facebook Lives came into play.
Yes.
And that's where we began to develop a lot of our curriculum. And we'll talk more about all that Table and Well has become in the meantime. But we launched April 1st of 2020 after feeling like we were supposed to lay low, which this is kind of funny because we left a traditional church staff position in January of 2020.
Yep.
And we knew Table and Well was to become something. We didn't know anything about Table and Well being Table and Well. We had no name for it at that point. We just knew we were to share these concepts, and we were to give our lives to sharing these concepts. And so we took a 3-month sabbatical, where we were engaged in life and worked for 2 weeks, and then we would step away for 2 weeks and just kind of go, I don't want to say go into hiding, but but rest and take a step back and continue to work on our hearts and explore what the Lord was doing. And so it was actually on a plane out to California that we finally felt like we had permission from the Lord to take all that stuff on that whiteboard and put it together, because we had spent about a year and a half at that point where we knew we had permission to write down things that were highlighted.
But we could not. We didn't feel we were able to put it all together. Actually, we didn't feel permission or release to put it all together.
Right, because we knew we weren't supposed to be creating something. We knew the Lord was creating something, and we were just partnering with that. And so when we started putting it together on the plane, it was pretty instantaneous.
Yeah, it was. And at the end of the day, as we were putting these things together, it was like we had a few things really that were our focus, or kind of like, no, this is why we're doing this. This is what it looks like. And it was really, we wanted people to experience like the transformation that we had and that we still are experiencing. Like we wanted people to actually change and to walk it out and to see that, no, these things work. These tools work. These skills work. And there's actual transformation on the other side of this. And so we wanted to share that with people. We wanted people to know that.
Right. And what we were really discovering was, within Life Model anyway, that there was this framework of relational maturity.
Yeah.
That wasn't some sort of like ethereal idea that maybe somebody, I don't know, that you could smatter apply, but it was really about understanding the way that God designed us.
Yes. Yep.
And how do I engage with my design to grow and to be the person God designed me to be today.
Yes.
Even if I didn't understand this. Like we were sitting there in our 40s, well, we're still in our 40s, but in our young 40s, realizing, oh, like this would have been really helpful to know in my 20s.
Yes.
Or I should have had this life and relational experience back in my childhood years, and I didn't.
Yep.
So now what do I do? Right.
And so it just was one of those moments where we just wanted to share it. We wanted the world to know about it. And I think one of the things that was super important to us, and something that we really, that we know matters, is we wanted people to also experience these things. These tools weren't tools that we could just give you information about and you kind of figure it out. No, you actually needed to immerse yourself and experience it and really get a taste and a glimpse of how it changes your life. Honestly, guys, like in an instant, in a moment, in that moment of experiencing whatever the skill is, whatever the tool is, the thing, there's a noticeable shift and change that happens.
And then we began to learn too that alongside that transformation comes through experience. Yes. That it doesn't really come through information being relayed.
Right.
It is about having felt it in your body or having lived through it, which all of us get this in the negative. We know that experiences have changed us, and we can all recall multiple negative experiences that change us. The problem is that we're not really living a life intentionally engaging in experiences that are positive, that are transformationally positive. And I think what we began to understand is we need more of that. We need more of positive transformational experiences. And how do we go about delivering that? How do we go about bringing that to the world? How do we go about experiencing that for ourselves? And that is really Table and Well.
It is. And I think one of the beautiful things in this space too is that when we started this journey and we started Table and Well back in 2020, which is crazy, but we knew these skills and tools worked. We knew that experiencing them together in a community worked. And so we talked about it, and that's how we approached everything we did. But now 4.5 years later, almost 5 years later, it's like, no guys, like we've seen it work not only in our lives, but in the lives of hundreds of people that we've worked with over the last 4.5 years, 5 years. And like it's so fun because we'll be in the beginning of a lab, or we'll be at a table, or we'll be doing something, and like we know what's coming.
Yeah, we do.
And so we're so excited because like they don't know yet because they haven't experienced it, but like we know the change that's going to happen and how it's going to really catapult them in their relational connections to God, themselves, and to other people.
Exactly. Yeah, it is so fun. And I think what's fascinating about it too is that we, as much transformation as we've seen, there's still a sense of like we're still at the very beginning of watching this unfold. And what we've had the privilege of doing is walking alongside the world as the world is gaining a value, and I mean world like humanity is gaining a value for relational connection. We didn't even have really language for it 4 years ago. Thankfully, Jim Wilder pioneered this out in the 70s, which is who created the life model and the maturity indicators. And we'll share a little bit more about that in the coming podcasts. But thank God for his pioneering in the 70s when nobody was talking about this. And we've been able to just have this beautiful, like, now is the time, now is the season, as humanity is discovering and honestly experiencing some serious heartbreak around not having these relational connections in play, that we get to pace and say, we have something for you.
Yeah, that's exciting. So fast forward, 2024. We're here. We're doing the thing. We've done a lot of different things, but I want people to know, like, what's our mission? Like, why are we doing this? What gets us up in the morning, as we talk about when we were kind of talking through this, and then we'll move into just some other things. But I think it's really important for people to know kind of why we do this.
Our mission is to develop relationally powerful people, communities, families, and teams so that we can be the safe, healthy family of God that we and the world need. And we do that through the lens of relational maturity. We also bring in all kinds of different components that we see are bringing transformation into people's lives. And I think that's the other special thing that we carry as a couple, is we're able to take this amazing framework of relational maturity that Dr. Jim Wilder created, and we've been able to pull all of these other beautiful resources and make this incredible soup. Like, soup is one of my favorite things to make. And it is that combination of ingredients that kind of makes a really power-packed, nutritious delivery that we bring everywhere we go all the time. And because it's experiential and we refuse to just let it be knowledge-based information passed, and because it is so practical, we're just seeing so much fruit from what we're doing, and more fruit than we've ever seen in our 20 years of 25 years of ministry at this point. This is where it's been. This is what it's been about.
This has been fantastic. I mean, there's no words to really describe kind of.
No, I think we continue to be at awe of what, just how impactful this is.
That's what I was going to say. And guys, it's not like and please hear us too, we're not saying that like we're doing this.
Right.
Like that's not it. But the way that these skills and these tools, when people practice them and they apply them into their lives, the continual impact that it's having over and over and over again in people's lives, I mean, it's mind blowing, and it's like Janelle said, there's awe. A lot of that all the time. Just like, man.
And even the generational impact that we're seeing, that it's not just the people we're working with, it's the people that, because it's all relational, it's the relationships they have that then those people are being transformed, and those relationships are being transformed. And, it somewhat feels like almost like a domino effect of like we tip the first domino through the invitations that we create. And then because of the work each of these individuals do, or these teams do, or communities do, then it's just creating a firestorm of transformation and changing the game. And I think part of why we're so passionate about what we do ties back to us being believers and feeling like, why are we struggling so hard to live like Jesus lived, like he modeled? We talk a lot about it. We say we should be doing that. Yeah. We all want to love our neighbor as ourselves. Like yes, of course we do. Yeah. And yet we are really struggling to do that in a way that's healthy and feels healthy to us and healthy to them and safe for us and safe for them, especially in those messy places. And especially in a post-COVID world. I mean, that's a whole other piece that we started this. It felt like the release was April 1st, 2020. And we had no idea that there would be a pandemic between January and April 1st.
Yeah. And because our plan was to do these things all in person.
Yeah, which is what we love to do.
Workshops and seminars and all that kind of stuff. And you couldn't do any of that in 2020.
Couldn't do any of it.
So
nope. And I think it's just funny because I remember talking to you about, gosh, I feel like we're supposed to do a podcast. And we just both kind of looked at each other like,
we're not podcast people.
We're not podcast people. Like, we're not doing yeah, exactly. Like, not going to happen. And it just kept feeling stronger and stronger. We actually ordered the supplies, the mics and all of that prior to that April 1st in preparation of what might be. And then the next thing you know, there was a lot of reason why this needed to be online. And and the online option has allowed us to be global and to work with people from all over the world, from Israel to Canada to Australia, Honduras, all kinds of different England, all kinds of different places that we never would have been able to reach, or would have even thought to reach, honestly. And we still do in person, which is great. So there's just been such a beautiful unfolding.
Of all that. So it's been beautiful. So I want to shift gears just a little bit because so we're going to walk through, I think Janelle mentioned it, we're going to walk through again the maturity series that we started at the very beginning. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we go into that, one thing I want to do, I want to define maturity because that is how we define it, because just to kind of set the stage, and then we'll kind of move into that space. So we define maturity as reaching your God-given potential at every age and stage of life. And I won't go too deep into that right now, but age and stage refers back to the maturity indicators. And at every stage of life, there's ages and stages. Makes it really simple. But so in saying that, maturity is not based solely on your age or experience, or even the color of your hair, or if you have hair, you don't have hair, or
meaning as we age, those things change.
Yes. So maturity, granted, yes, there is maturity that comes through experience, but your maturity is not solely based on those things.
Right, because many of our experiences don't necessarily grow us in maturity. Right. No one might be a strong word, but the focus of raising children or being in relationship with one another or being a leader or being a part of a group isn't about, hey, you're here to help me grow in maturity, or I'm here to help you grow in maturity. Right. We think, well, that just happens when you become an adult. Like, boom, you're 18. Like, now you're an adult. Right. Go figure out adulting. Or now you're a child and so you can go to school, or now you're married. And we kind of mark maturity by these life it's
markers.
Not even experience, markers.
Yeah.
Or now you're a grandparent or
so
a parent.
Yeah.
As if, and we all know this isn't true,
right.
but like as if reaching that event equals you actually know what in the heck to do when you get there.
Yeah.
No one is intentionally preparing one another, and I think this is a one another thing.
Yep.
Not like somebody out there should be doing this, but like I should be doing this.
Yep.
And careful with the word should, but should be doing this for others in my life, whether that's my children or whether that's my grandchildren or people in my community or people that I'm leading, and others in my community should be doing this for me.
Yeah.
And that's really the essence of what if humanity raised one another up. It's the concept of raising one another up.
Yeah. And so, in that being said, relational maturity in this space is based on the mastery of very specific skills that we learn at each age and stage of our life.
Right.
And so that's like the fullness of maturity. It's the experiences and the skills that we need to learn. And we have foregone the skills, I think, for the majority of mankind.
We think so much about this when we have toddlers, and those of you who are super far removed from toddler land, there are developmental markers that are someone's keeping a strong eye on them, typically the pediatrician.
Right.
And they're saying, okay, is this child walking by the age that they should be walking? Are they talking? Are they jumping? Are they able to balance? Are they able to, do those type of things? And we're really paying attention in those early years of life because we know that will indicate how they'll be able to function in the world in the future, right?
Yep.
The problem is no one's paying attention to whether or not we're meeting those developmental stages in our relationships and in our relational skills as we grow. It's like somehow we just, like, as long as everything seems to be fine, or even if things aren't fine, we don't really know what to do about that because we don't know that maturity is at play.
Yeah.
And we really do focus on the relational aspect of that maturity.
We'll definitely dive into that in the upcoming podcast. But as Janelle said, we're going to revisit actually that entire series. So we're going to walk through every age and stage of life, talk about all the different things that go with that. And we did this back in 2020 originally because it was like, that's what we knew. It was like, we want the world to know this and get this understanding of relational maturity. But, and we wanted, again, do it in person, all of that. But we ended up doing it on Facebook Live. And so we did Facebook Lives of each one of these. Those became our first series of podcasts that we released back in, I think, December of 2020 is when we started the podcast. Wild. And those podcasts, as of right now, whenever, I promise you, whenever you're listening to this, those are our most downloaded podcasts that we have ever put out.
Right.
Have been this maturity series. And I think because we send people back to it, but not just us. There's like people that have said, I listened to it, and then I had my entire family go back and listen to it because it just resonated with them so much, and with us. And so, we've learned a lot since then. And,
we have.
And we want to bring those experiences to the table as well as we walk through this series again.
Yeah, and bring a fresher perspective on the maturity model and invite people again to the aha of it all. I think that's what's so wild about the maturity indicators is that it's just light bulbs to explain so much stuff in your life, in someone else's life, in why things are hard or why this isn't working or what a gap might be in yourself or in someone else that's creating maybe some pain or maybe some struggle. And so, we just wanted to bring that into the present and share the more that we know here 4 years later.
You've been listening to the Table and Well podcast. New episodes stream every Tuesday. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review to let us know. Also, subscribe on your favorite listening platform to stay up to date on all things Table and Well. To learn more, start your journey, or get information on how Table and Well can help develop your community, family, or teams to be relationally healthy and authentically connected, please go to tableandwell.org/collab to schedule an interest call, or you can email us directly at known@tableandwell.org.